We applaud David for making Richmond Hill residents and business his top priority. So, without further ado, let's have a loud round of applause for the voice of business for Richmond Hill, Mayor David West. You don't want these? You're very good at that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Ron, for that kind introduction. I just want to start off, though, to say kind of the most important thing right now that's affecting us all in Richmond Hill, and that is go, Jays, go. Thank you very much to the Richmond Hill Board of Trade for organizing this great luncheon. As a former small business owner and former chair of the board, I know firsthand the importance of this organization and the essential role that they play in our business community. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank and acknowledge Jacqueline Zhang, chair of the board, and all of your board of directors, and Monique Dennison for all of the work that you've done over many, many years now. Thank you very much for your tireless work. I'd like to also take a moment to welcome some distinguished guests here today. Member of Provincial Parliament, Daisy Way. Daisy, thank you very much for being here. My friend and York Region Chair, Eric Jolliffe. Thank you, Eric, for being here. And I would also like to introduce the great folks that I get to work with every day, my colleagues on council. Regional and Local Councillor, Deputy Mayor Godwin Chan. Ward 1 Councillor Carol Davidson. Ward 2 Councillor Scott Thompson. Ward 3 Councillor Castro Liu. Ward 4 Councillor Simon Tree. Ward 5 Councillor Karen Silovitz. And Ward 6 Councillor Michael Shue. This council has been working hard well together in the last little while, and in the final year of this term, we continue to meet today's challenges to create a better tomorrow for Richmond Hill. And I want to thank the fine folks that support this council, including my own office team, who go above and beyond the call of duty each and every day to make sure that we're well represented in the community. And I'd also like to introduce my boss, Michelle, my wife. I actually mean that. That wasn't really a joke. I would also like to thank the members of the executive leadership that are here today. City Manager Darlene Joslin, Commissioner of Community Services Tracy Steele, Commissioner of Corporate and Financial Services Sherry Adams, Commissioner of Infrastructure and Engineering Services Paulo Massaro, Commissioner of Planning and Building Services Gus Galanis, and also Director of Planning and Development Deborah Gianetta. And I don't know whether Stephen Hike is here today. Is Stephen here? Okay, it's okay, but he's the Director of Legislative Services and the City Clerk. And I'd also like to also thank the Director of Richmond Hill Centre and Economic Development, Anthony Irulo, and Senior Economic Development Officer Brenda Oster, for whom many in the business community know. And I'd also like to give a thank you to Fire and Emergency Services Chief Brian Burbage. Thank you, Brian. From the executive leadership team right through to each and every staff member at Richmond Hill, city staff work hard each and every day for this community. Without the professional, highly skilled, and caring individuals at this city, none of what I'm about to tell you would be possible. Each and every day, they help the city grow and prosper, and the work that they do often happens behind the scenes. To shine a light on some of this great work, here are a few of those examples. Access Richmond Hill, which is our call center, has handled a staggering 117,804 calls, emails, in-person, and website inquiries in the past 12 months. That's 3,000 more than the previous year. Staff supplied 18 billion liters of clean drinking water. Together with residents and businesses, staff planted nearly 9,000 trees through the Community Stewardship Program. They provided ongoing training for 173 firefighters to help protect our city. Staff have also helped keep waste out of landfills by achieving a 68% diversion rate, which is one of the highest in the whole province. In this past year, staff have rehabilitated 1,000 meters of roads, 850 meters of storm sewer, and 1,000 meters of water mains. Last year, staff delivered 9,668 recreation programs with over 69,000 registered participants. And staff have won many awards this year and every year for their great work, and the list goes on. Together, they're building a city that's thriving, welcoming, and uniquely Richmond Hill. Let's hear a big round of applause for all of our hardworking city staff. It's a real honor today for me to stand here and welcome our community business leaders, whom, and many of you are here today, whose vision and dedication play such a vital role in shaping the growth and success of our local economy. Your partnership and commitment makes a lasting difference, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my pride and our successes over the past year with you. I believe, now I'd like to share a few highlights of the past year, and then, as Monique said, I will look forward to answering some questions that have been submitted. Like many communities, Richmond Hill is facing unprecedented times, both caused by actions close to home and those broader forces that are happening internationally. We are meeting these challenges head on and taking steps to build a stronger, more resilient future for our city. It's thanks to the investment and innovation from many of you in this business community here today that Richmond Hill has been able to successfully navigate these challenges and continue to grow our local economy. There are multiple conflicts happening in the world today, and it really is scary. It impacts members of our community directly, and it has the capacity to divide us when we most need to be pulling together. During this difficult time, we must strive in our community to make it welcoming for all. I want our home in Richmond Hill to continue to be a place where everyone feels welcome, comfortable, and safe. In fact, community safety is always on my mind. Recently, I've heard concerns from residents time and again about crime and safety, and I've heard those concerns loud and clear. It's so important that we feel safe here in our homes, at our businesses, and all of the places in between. That's why I'm constantly working with York Regional Police to make Richmond Hill a safer community. I'm happy to report that YRP has seen significant reductions in vehicle thefts, hate crimes, break-and-enters, and other serious crimes this year. In their year-to-date report this summer, YRP stated that homicides are down 67%, carjackings have decreased 49%, residential and commercial break-and-enters have declined by 11%, and due, I think, largely to YRP's Operation Auto Guard, auto theft in Richmond Hill is down 37%. Statistics like this are great examples of why I'm so proud of YRP and the great work that they do to keep us all safe. But I want to be clear, crime statistics in Richmond Hill and across Ontario are still not acceptable. I find this very frustrating because myself and York Regional Council have ensured that YRP is properly resourced, doing everything that they need to do within their power. On that note, I was very encouraged by the recent federal announcement around justice system reform. Clearly, advocacy from myself and other mayors has achieved some positive results. While more changes are certainly required, this does seem like a good first step. For an unacceptably increasing number of people, the foundational part of feeling safe is simply having adequate shelter. I'm committed to ensuring that everyone who chooses Richmond Hill as their home has a place to live. This is a complex issue and one that we can't ignore. I continue to work with all levels of government, the development community, and residents to find solutions to make housing more attainable while protecting the character and quality of life in our city. So let me just tell you some of the progress that we're making on this. Over the past year, I've met with developers and industry leaders, such as the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, to understand the issues and help address challenges and find solutions. Through the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund, we've made planning and zoning changes for a number of key areas, including Yonge and 16th Carville Key Development Area, Newkirk, Oak Ridges, and Village Local Centres, respectively. And we've implemented a financial incentive plan for developers and nonprofits to build more affordable housing. We're launching an affordable housing concierge program to provide a streamlined process and single point of contact to speed up these high priority applications. And the HAF funding will give us the financial resources to directly incentivize purpose-built rental buildings to be built. We've also made it easier for residents to build garden suites and basement apartments to increase the housing supply. And as I continue to work as the Vice Chair of the Housing and Homelessness Committee at York Region, in order to amplify the great work that is happening at the region as well. This year has been a significant progress on increased housing options for seniors in Richmond Hill. We've welcomed the groundbreaking for Schlegel Villages, the Care First Campus of Care, and we look forward to breaking ground for Monshong's new senior housing development. These 3 developments will bring jobs, educational opportunities, and over 1,300 housing units for our older adults in a wide range of accommodations, all the way from long-term care beds and affordable senior rentals to retirement suites and life lease units. Make no mistake, though, finding affordable housing still remains a crisis. Richmond Hill is doing everything we can to make progress on this issue, and there are good indicators that our work is paying off. This year, Richmond Hill approved over $1 billion worth of building permits by the end of July. That's much quicker than last year and represents 1,273 building projects within the residential, institutional, commercial, and industrial sectors. In fact, we are on pace to exceed last year's total permits. But by far, the key to successfully addressing the housing crisis in Richmond Hill is unlocking the development potential in the Richmond Hill Centre. The arrival of the subway at Highway 7 in Yonge will be a game changer for our city. It will make our community more accessible, attract new businesses and residents, and open the door for smart, sustainable, transit-oriented development. With this important transit connection, Richmond Hill will be better positioned to continue to grow as a thriving hub for jobs, housing, and investment. And what would a Richmond Hill State of the City address be in the last 10 years without an update on the state of the subway? The Yonge North Subway extension to Richmond Hill Centre is on track. Metrolinx awarded the tunneling contract this summer, which brings us one step closer to making 2 subway stops in Richmond Hill a reality. And for those of you that were here last year, I did promise that I would go out and help with the digging. I do have a shovel at home in the shed, but I don't think that's needed now because it looks like we're on the right track. I continue to have several specific frustrations, however, about how municipalities like Ontario, like Richmond Hill, are being funded. One program I continue to advocate for changes to is the Provincial Building Faster Fund. I've spoken with 3 housing ministers over the past 3 years, yet the BFF still exists, using housing starts as the criteria. Municipalities don't build homes, they approve homes. As such, the BFF is tied to a criteria beyond this city or any other city in Ontario's control. The program represents an ineffective incentive, which is not really useful or helpful, and it's frustrating to communities like Richmond Hill. I am now convinced, however, that programs like the BFF are only a symptom of a greater problem. Cities are struggling to provide the services that people expect and maintain the infrastructure to deliver those services. I believe that there is a real need for a change, an update on how cities in Ontario are funded. It's my view that this 100-year-old funding model, coupled with increased downloading from other levels of government over time, has created a nearly impossible situation for cities to sustainably fund themselves primarily on property taxes, which is the most regressive tax that we pay. I continue to support the Association of Municipalities of Ontario's advocacy toward a new fiscal framework for cities. In this day and age, where most of Canada's population has migrated to urban areas like Richmond Hill, cities like Richmond Hill play a far more important role. Cities own most of Canada's infrastructure, and cities also provide the services that people rely on every day. There needs to be a far greater recognition of the important function of cities in building a vibrant province and a vibrant country. Advocacy is really important to me. As mayor, I'm making sure Richmond Hill is seen and heard. I was recently asked a really great question. What is the Richmond Hill advantage? So let me tell you. The obvious answer is our central location, our highly educated work and skilled workforce, and our diverse community. But there is so much more we could say. For example, we've welcomed many new businesses to our community, strengthening the local economy, and it's been a real honor to be invited to celebrate with them at their grand openings. We already have 4,500 companies who are designing and developing the next generation of products and solutions. Global companies choose Richmond Hill, such as Apotex, Amoco, BMW, Compugen, Olympus, Mari, TTE, APR Beauty, MIS Electronics, Visual Defense, Opulence, and Marcy Foods. And we are effectively working every day to increase this list. In fact, in the spring, Richmond Hill went on a trade mission to Germany. We participated in Hannover Messe, the world's largest industrial trade fair and conference. Alongside our economic development team, York Region, and local and national businesses, we showcased the strengths of our city on the global stage. We held numerous business meetings, connected with federal and provincial trade commissioners, and engaged with key government agencies and innovation clusters to explore international partnerships. And as a result, I am proud to see several promising opportunities are now being pursued, including potential research and development collaborations and new European investment in Richmond Hill. This trade mission highlighted the city's unique value proposition, showcasing what it takes to make a great place to both live and invest. And I truly believe the innovative ideas, services, and products that are developed by Richmond Hill businesses can and should be exported more to the world. Given the response that we received from European companies, I came home feeling energized and even more proud of our community for the prospects for our future. In the past year, I've been working hard at home, across the province, and internationally to place and keep Richmond Hill at the forefront. Last year, I had the privilege of speaking at the United Nations headquarters in New York City to advocate for sustainable cities and share Richmond Hill's efforts towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I'm also ensuring that we make use of every platform that we can to champion our city. I ensure that organizations that we are members of, such as the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and the Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus, prioritize what cities like Richmond Hill need. And I am pleased to share that I was elected treasurer of the Ontario Big City Mayors earlier this year, placing me on the executive committee and in a position to better shape the advocacy work that we all do. I'm proud to promote our local businesses and showcase the incredible innovation happening right here in Richmond Hill. We're committed to creating the right connections for businesses to grow and thrive. By building global connections, we're sending a clear message. Richmond Hill is open for business, laser focused on strengthening our economy, and expanding and creating new opportunities for the future. Innovation isn't just a buzzword to us. We've created an environment that enables talent and ideas to flourish, and we're getting noticed because of it. In fact, our Small Business Enterprise Center has also had a busy year supporting the business community and creating opportunities for new businesses to thrive. They provided 552 business consultations, an increase of 24% over the previous year. They also supported 81 new businesses and the expansion of 32 existing businesses, plus the creation of almost 100 jobs. And overall, they dispersed over $100,000 of grant funding to support businesses in our city. We're helping companies take their business to the next level by creating a platform for knowledge exchange. Last year at this time, I shared that the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment, and Health had moved to the 7th floor of our City Hall. Our partnership is working well. One example is the very successful speaker series I hosted this year with the UNU, highlighting topics about how we can share our knowledge and apply that knowledge and their knowledge to local food systems, local agriculture, and the promotion of environmental stewardship using the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals framework. City staff are working closely with the UNU on several initiatives, including greenhouse gas inventory data gathering, consulting with them on Richmond Hill's micro-mobility and electric vehicle charging strategies. Our economic development team is also partnering with UNU to explore opportunities to provide businesses with the tools, resources, and networks needed to rapidly scale their businesses into international markets. And this month, Richmond Hill, as North America's first front-runner city, hosted the Urban Economy Forum Summit at the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts. We had mayors and dignitaries from around the world discuss the most pressing issues of the day, including the way forward for cities, particularly related to building affordable housing. So I'd like to talk a minute about traffic. Everyone loves to hate traffic, but there are several news stories in this area, including how we're improving safety for drivers and pedestrians. Within our city boundaries, we've expanded the implementation of our traffic safeties and operations strategy with another 18 locations of traffic calming installations nearing completion and 15 more locations scheduled by the end of next year. These solutions have already yielded positive results. Speeding has dropped up to 22% in these areas, and traffic volume has been reduced by 42% in neighborhoods where these tools are deployed. To complement these efforts, we've also piloted new slow-down signs in each ward to encourage drivers to follow the speed limits. And the York Region joint project with Markham and Richmond Hill to build another bridge over the 404 between 16th Avenue and 7 is making steady progress. This will connect our Headford Business Park to Markham, making it easier to travel in the southeast part of the city. Richmond Hill continues to be known for our great parks and green spaces, and I'm particularly proud of that. I'd like to share some good news in this area. Plans are underway for the revitalization of Richmond Green, the city's largest sporting and events park, home of the Canada Day celebrations and my own Maple Syrup Festival. This project will include planning for the new Bill Bell Park to the north, honoring one of Richmond Hill's esteemed former mayors. To protect our environment and provide more opportunities for outdoor recreation, I've called on the province through my Bond Lake motion to provide funding for the Toronto Region Conservation Authority to build trails and other infrastructure around Bond Lake so we can open up this true jewel in our community to our residents. Protecting this beautiful lake requires smart, nature-based recreation planning. Because the province owns this land, I need their assistance so we can ensure that this treasured space is preserved for generations to come. The pedestrian and cyclist bridge over the CN rail tracks connecting our David Dunlop Observatory Park to Observatory Lane is rising from the ground. To me, the DDO represents our city's history and its future. It's a reminder that Richmond Hill is a place where innovation and imagination always have a home. The new bridge will open up this National Historic Park and destination park for more people to enjoy. And I am thrilled that the plans for Dave Barrow's Civic Square are moving forward imminently. This new park, adjacent to our central library at Yonge and Major Mackenzie, honoring another longtime mayor and friend, Dave Barrow, will create the premier community gathering place in Richmond Hill. I knew it was crucial to finally get this park started, which is why I made a motion to begin construction in 2026. The park will include an events plaza with a stage, a seasonal refrigerated ice rink in winter, a Richmond Hill sign for photos and placemaking, and green spaces, including a teaching garden. Most importantly, these investments will create a place where the community can come together each and every day of the year, including when the Blue Jays win the World Series next year. And if that other team that plays hockey ever wins the Stanley Cup, we could celebrate that there too. Sorry if I've offended anybody. On a more somber note, we're also creating a memorial at Unity Park to honor the 176 victims of Flight PS 752, tragically shot down in Tehran on January the 8th, 2020. This was the largest single-day loss of life abroad in Richmond Hill. My 2024 motion called for the creation of this memorial as a space for reflection and remembrance to unite our community in honoring the victims. Unity Park has been selected to host this memorial given its symbolic theme of togetherness. The city is ready to roll on this important project and is now just waiting for funding from the federal and provincial government. And finally, arts and culture are really important to our community and have always been. This is what defines great cities. As such, we are also focused on enhancing the vibrant, creative, culturally rich community that we all cherish in Richmond Hill. I am excited that in our heritage downtown village, we are building community through our new cultural center. This new initiative will help to strengthen and foster our community and cultural identity in the historic old post office, which was built in 1936. I'm really happy that the city will be using this building again, enhancing opportunities to create cultural connections. By giving this landmark a new life, we're preserving an important part of our past while creating spaces for future generations. So as we look to the future, I am filled with pride for all that we have achieved here together, and even more so for the opportunities that lie ahead. Richmond Hill is a city that's built on innovation, diversity, and resilience. We are investing in the infrastructure that will carry us forward, supporting the businesses and families that are the backbone of our community, and strengthening our connections, and will continue to make our city a vibrant place to call home. I am confident that by working together, we can continue to navigate any challenges that arise because we're working collaboratively. Together, we will keep creating a city that's vibrant, welcoming, and full of opportunities for residents, businesses, and families alike. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for joining me today.
There we go. Okay, he's doing the answers now. All right. Thank you, everybody, for getting together with us today. And I just want to say, Mayor West, like, what a presentation that was. Talk about a mouthful with lunch and dessert and your presentation between there. But you think about all of these accomplishments that have taken place. And it's really also great to have a leader like you that acknowledges all the other people in the room here that made it possible from the city, whether it's the staff and everybody. But on behalf of all of us here, how about we give a little bit of recognition to our amazing mayor and our city for an amazing year.
No, thanks, Mohammed. You know, it really is one of the most thrilling parts about this job, and I've thought this all throughout the time, ever since I was a counselor, is that we get to work with really great people. And we have a staff, as I mentioned earlier, that's just fantastic. Like every question, probably including the meaning of life, somebody on the staff knows the answer to that. And, well, actually, maybe that's an exaggeration, but it really is great to have that level of expertise. And the colleagues, as I said, on council have been great. We've done a really good job, I think, this year. We have very passionate debates periodically, but nobody dies, and that's really important. So a great improvement from last term of council.
Yeah, it's also great to have an opportunity to just sit like this with you here, just to ask some questions. There was so much that was accomplished over the year. what would you sort of, looking back on it, say would be one or some of the highlights that you've had?
Well, I have a list.
Oh, you have a list?
Yes, I do. So I will say, like the speech was the speech, but there were a number of things that I just wanted to be able to mention as well. The number of grand openings that's happened in the last little while in Richmond Hill has been really fantastic. So that certainly has been a highlight. Hill House Hospice, who I think is here today.
They're right over here
Yep.
somewhere, right?
They got funding to double their capacity, and that's really, really important. And we've also finalized a long-term lease so that they can embark on a fundraising campaign to build a much bigger facility. And the next step for them, which we're looking for, is to get up to 12 beds funded. And I'm confident that that will happen. It's a really important facility. The Schroeder Ambulatory Care Center is, I'm not sure they're actually open yet, but they're very, very close. They've been a great addition to our healthcare system here in Richmond Hill. That was very exciting. Mackenzie Health got an announcement for 20 more adult inpatient mental health beds. That's really, really important. We were able to host our first Black History Month this year, which was really exciting, and I want to thank the folks that helped to make that happen, Jeffrey Thompson and company. We had a youth champion recently that won an Environmental Action and Awareness Award from the United Nations University, MA Tai, which was really exciting. We've had many, many companies do great things this year, but one in particular was MARI, which is Maple Advanced Robotics, and they won a really significant award in Germany. We were there to help to celebrate that with them. They just do some amazing things with AI and robotics. And I'm really pleased and proud of the progress that we're making with our Indigenous partners. We have lots of different things going on in the city. We've really developed a great relationship with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and Chief Claire Salt has just been fantastic to work with. We unveiled some signs for the Rouge, the Don, and the Humber rivers in Ojibwe. And, we call them the Rouge, the Don, and the Humber, but their traditional names are, and I'm not going to try to pronounce them right now, but they're on signs now in various places in the community, and that's been great. And I guess the final thing I'd like to say is I was really pleased for those of you that were able to be at the Maple Syrup Festival. That was a real joy for me personally. I grew up in Maple. And got to go to a maple syrup festival every year and take tours of the sugar bush and all that kind of stuff. And I've always really wanted to bring that to Richmond Hill for people here to enjoy. And it was really well attended last year, and it was a lot of fun. So anyway, that's
just
it.
Another year.
Just another year, yeah.
That's amazing. Talk about volume of things that come through and the amount of work that goes in beforehand, throughout, and getting it to completion. So kudos to the city on delivering all of this stuff. And what a set of highlights. Speaking of volume, and going to shift over to traffic now, and one of our major areas, which is that young corridor that we have between Major Mac and Wright Street. It's known as the Yonge Street Village Core. You've got some plans going on over there. Tell us a little bit more about that and the improvements on the way.
Yeah, I hear about that quite a bit. People wanting to see that area revitalized. And believe me, I've actually been interested in that for longer than I've been on council. And but one of the things I will say is, I live not too far from there, and in going down there in the evening especially, you'll notice the restaurants in that area are busy. And people are starting to come there, and the number of restaurants that we have and the quality of those restaurants is really fantastic. So if you haven't been to the Village Core, make sure you go. They've got just about any kind of food you can possibly imagine. They've got it there. But we've spent a lot of time in the last little while with our official plan, changing the zoning permissions in that area to kind of incentivize development. We've got a new comprehensive zoning bylaw that's almost in effect, and it will help the owners of the properties in that area make decisions that they can use to revitalize those properties. Because while we have a lot of really beautiful historic buildings, and that's part of the charm of that area, there is opportunities for redevelopment and revitalization, and we need the owners of those lands to get on with it and get moving on that. The thing I guess I always think about in that area is that the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts, which I think, frankly, is one of the best investments we've ever made, and I was not on council at that time, but I'm there all the time. Great stuff is happening there all the time. Everything from really high-end performances all the way to, like yesterday, I was leading a parade of little children in their Halloween costumes and giving them treats, because the business improvement area had this parade to attract people to the business core. And it's just great. But we've also done Ransom Park, where the Terry Fox statue is, and that's something I'm always proud of every day, but especially around Terry Fox Day. The cultural center, as I said, I drove by there today. The signs are up now, open. We're going to do a grand opening tomorrow, and it'll be open to the public shortly after that. It'll be an amazing thing for the cultural group in Richmond Hill. And, of course, as I mentioned, the Dayboro Square. And so by the time all of those things are finished, we've made some really significant investments in the village core. And as I said earlier, I'm hoping that the owners of the property in that area will follow suit and start to do that as well.
Yeah, so lots to look forward to there coming up as well. Speaking of core, one of the core sort of demographics or cross sections of our community are our youth and our students. And you talked about a better tomorrow, so I think it's very relevant to hear your ideas and your thoughts on how can youth and students in our city get more involved in local policy or community projects and building.
Yeah, that's a really important thing. And we're not talking about young people enough. I mean, we are talking about people with gray hair like me.
Young at heart, young at
yes.
heart. Yeah.
And I mean, and from a demographic point of view, I mean, we have a huge demographic of people in Canada who are getting older, and we're really spending a lot of time thinking about that, and that's good. There's absolutely, we need to do more for older people in a number of different areas. But at the same time, we have young people living in our communities that are having a really hard time finding places to live. And I know I have one. And, he's living downtown and he's renting, but we need more places for people to rent of all different ages and employment status and so on and so forth. But that would help a lot. And we're working hard, as I mentioned in the speech, about affordable housing. We do need more support from the federal and provincial government, but I'm not going to let up until, we see more progress on that file. But, we do have a number of things that we are offering. I mean, the school board is doing things too. I get invited to grade 5 all the time to talk to the kids about civics, and I take every opportunity that I can. I used to be a grade 5 teacher, so I kind of relate to that. But I think that's important. But I think we also have the Youth Action Committee in Richmond Hill. They're doing a great job. I've tried to visit them as much as I can to find out what's important to that group. They're a really dynamic group of kids. And so, those are some of the things that we're trying to do. I have my Mayor for a Day contest, which I cannot believe the number of people apply for that. And, whoever ends up getting to be the mayor for the day, it really is interesting to hear some of the things that they're, talking about and things that they're thinking about. I mean, grade 5, they're a little bit young for some of the bigger life decisions that they're going to have to make, but that's where it starts. So there are definitely things that we need to be doing beyond what I've just said to really start concentrating on young people in our community.
Well, you highlighted the importance or the type of qualifications in our community here in Richmond Hill, and it all starts with them at a young age. So it's great to see your leadership focused on youth and students. They are our partners for tomorrow, right? And one of the big partners that we have for our city today is our province. I mean, it's not just our global partners and our federal partners, but very close to us is our provincial partner. And that's key to our success. So you talked a little bit about that, and I'd love to hear a bit more about what support you would like to see from the provincial government that you do not currently have.
Well, I kind of said some of the things in the speech, and I try not to go over that. But I think one of the things that I guess I'm starting to really see in Technicolor in my time as mayor is we can talk about some of the specific reasons why we're being underfunded in this area or that area or this area. But at the end of the day, the basis for my concern is that the way cities are funded in Ontario is a system that was designed about 100 years ago, and it was designed on the back of property tax. And the vast majority of the funding that cities get, at least on a sustainable, regular basis, is property taxes. We all know this because we all pay those property taxes. And property tax was initially designed to pay for a very small, specifically geographic suite or basket of goods and services that the city would offer. But over the last 100 years, there's things that we would never have contemplated 100 years ago that are now being paid for by property taxes. And some of the things that are being paid for by property taxes, frankly, have no business being on the property tax bill. They're things that either are directly or indirectly related to jurisdictions of other levels of government. And the other levels of government have other financial tools that they can use. We do not in cities. And so I guess what I'm looking for, generally speaking, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario has been calling for this new fiscal framework. And I think it would be really helpful for cities to be able to rely less on property taxes and more on other forms of funding. And I'm not talking about additional taxes. I'm talking about using the tax system that we have right now and getting sustainable funding from other levels of government. And some of the things that we're really in a hole in right now are things like housing. You know, building housing, thanks, Kathleen, building housing in anywhere is really, really expensive. And that can't be done properly on the back of property taxes. We're the only province in Canada that has municipalities build social housing. And, you know, the development charges that we've used, or we have used in the past and continue to use to pay for that, are being eroded and eroded and eroded. And I get it. I mean, if we take off development charges, it might lead to more affordable housing. But the problem is that money where growth is supposed to pay for growth, which is what development charges are all about, has to come from somewhere. And if it doesn't come from development charges and it doesn't come from other levels of government, then guess who gets to pay for it? Or we do without. And when it comes to things like housing, that's very problematic because, you know, we are in a housing crisis right now. We have lots of people that can't afford housing. We have a homelessness crisis going on. We need to be able to act and act quickly. And frankly, one of the things I do know about municipalities, you know, we are absolutely the closest to the ground in any level of government. We know what's going on in our communities. We are able to react pretty quickly to the things that are going on in our communities. And I think, you know, it would be really great to see some more autonomy to be able to see cities like Richmond Hill, and I mean, I hear this from the Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus, so it's not just me saying this too, be able to react more nimbly and quickly based on the needs we have in the community.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a long answer.
So in short, no, I think there's a lot that doesn't meet the eye, right? And behind the scenes that are going on. So you're being out there as an advocate for our city, and you're not just doing it for our city, you're doing it for all cities as well. So I think it's really important to have that partnership and a great relationship with our provincial government partners. We're going to wrap up here. This is going to be our last question that we'll give you. And this is really coming back to, you talk about impact on housing and impact on so many different areas of community. So let's finish on that note. You know, can you share maybe a story of a local business or a community group that's making an impact? Impact is a big deal to people here in Richmond Hill.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I am completely blown away by every day is those stories. So picking one is impossible, but I will. But I just want to say that there's so many not-for-profits doing really, really good work in our community, and you know, it's ranging any issue that somebody feels passionate about and realizes that there's a need there. There's a need to really grab a hold of that issue and make a difference. Those are the not-for-profits that are doing really spectacular work today. I know Clovis is here with 360 Kids. I mentioned Hill House, and I'm sure I'm forgetting all kinds of other people, and I'm really sorry. But it's all of those folks that are doing the great work, and they're just grabbing a hold of it and not letting go. I mean, it really is an honor to be the mayor of a city that sees so much great work going on, and really all we're doing is supporting it. We're not doing it. The not-for-profits are doing. But I just wanted to mention, I did have one of the companies that we have in Richmond Hill that's doing really great work and often gets overlooked is Apotex. And they recently celebrated their 50th year anniversary, which is incredible. And they quietly go about doing their thing in their plant on Elgin Mills. But they recently did a $70 million expansion with 70 new jobs, and that's fantastic. I mentioned Maple Advanced Robotics. They won that prestigious award at Hanover Messe, and they're doing fantastic work. But each and every person in this room that owns a business, works for a business, you all know the great work that's being done. And I get to visit a lot of these businesses, and it's incredible the stuff that goes on in Richmond Hill that a lot of people don't even know about. But I'm here to try to amplify that message and let people know that Richmond Hill is the place to do business, and we are doing really great things here in our companies in Richmond Hill. So thank you.
Yeah, I think it's one of the great things about Richmond Hill is I feel like we're small enough to be intimate, but doing things that are big enough that make a difference and that matter. So thanks for finishing up on that note. Really appreciate just the format to be able to just sit down here and talk about some of these questions and how well you've received these questions as well and invited them. But most of all, I really appreciate how you gave up your dessert while it was waiting over there. I mean, I had to make sure I had mine before coming.
That's a huge sacrifice for me.
I think it's a big deal. So thank you very much, and thank you to the audience for bringing the questions forward and participating in that. Again, just let's give this young man here a round of applause. And that's all for today. We have other ideas as to how we'll do this in the future, but we started out this way this year, and I think it went pretty well. So thanks for participating.
Thank you to everybody that submitted questions. I know we didn't get anywhere close to all of the questions answered, but we did try to conglomerate some of them. So if you asked a question that was partially answered, at least that's probably one of the conglomeration exercises. But thank you everybody for coming. I'm really honored that so many people showed up today. It's really been fantastic to have the opportunity to talk to all of you about some of the great things that are happening in our city. So thanks very much.